Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com. Welcome to the show. This is a video recording, a video broadcast talking about the Justice League movie. And joining me after too long an absence is my good friend, an old pal, and fellow DC Comics fanatic. No, that's probably too strong of a word. I don't know. Enthusiast. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yes, definitely.
Welcome back to the show, Travis. Hey, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So
happy to be here.
Yeah. So when I knew that, at the time of this recording, which is November 21st, the Justice League movie has come out a few days ago, and you saw it on Sunday. I saw it Monday night. So this is all kind of fresh, and we're all and the both of us, I think we're kind of basking in the glow of Justice League goodness.
Yes, definitely.
I really wanted to talk to Travis about this because, well, we go way back, and especially our love for the Justice League characters, DC Comics in general, and we saw we saw our DC heroes on the big screen all together finally, and so I thought, well, we should just get together and just chat about it. These are kind of first impressions. Well, after a day or two of us kind of maybe mulling it over, but just kind of giving our impressions, and we'll see where the conversation leads us.
Yeah, but we haven't watched it like 4 times to be experts on what the hell happened in it.
Right. Spoilers. I am looking forward to watching it again. I'm going to go visit my daughter in Boise over the holidays, over the Thanksgiving holiday, and I really hope that we get to go watch it together.
Nice.
So I get to see it again, and I'm really looking forward to that. And last bit of business before we get on. Well, two bits of business. Travis, remind people or tell people, as the case may be, who you are, why you're here, where can they find you on the interwebs?
Well, I'm Travis. I go. My channel is called Oddfellows Thoughts here on YouTube. That's basically the place to go to find me ramble about comics. Long time comic book reader. Yeah, I mean, and this, what we're gonna be talking about now is basically like childhood impossibility. I mean, if back when me and you were first collecting there at the Book Trader, if somebody came up to us and said, "Hey, they're doing a live action superhero show," no way.
Yeah,
no way. So.
Yeah. Okay. So last bit of business before we get into the meat of it. We are going to be talking spoilers. So if you're listening to this or watching this, as the case may be forewarned. We're going to talk about things that if you haven't seen the movie, those things will be spoiled for you. Although, like I was saying before, Travis, before we got on air, I pretty much think if you watched all of the trailers, you have a good sense of what the movie is like. For the most part.
Well, I think that if you've got any concept of what a typical superhero comic book is about, there's not a whole lot that's going to be spoiled in this show either. I don't think. I mean, but at no point does it go out in left field someplace that makes you go, "What?" I didn't think so.
Yeah. Well, I think in general, this is not a DC comics movie franchise issue or problem or indicative of anything on just their end. I think the superhero movies we have these days are more or less formulaic.
Oh yeah, they're definitely paint by numbers.
Yeah, to a large degree. I don't think I've been really surprised about anything in any of the movies, the superhero movies, Marvel or DC. So, if you're a regular reader of superhero comics, you could probably guess exactly what's going to happen in this movie in Justice League. So let's Travis, let's give our just kind of general impressions about the movie. A few sentences about that, and then we'll go into some other topics that we have outlined for this. So, what did you think in general of Justice League?
I loved it. I had a great time. I just enjoyed the hell of it. And I'll be up front that it probably largely has to do with the fact is I love these characters and just excited to see them all in the same place. Whatnot. I thought as a general rule, the banter amongst them was super fun. And I don't know. I loved all that. I just really got a kick out of. And whereas the last DC movie that had a bunch of them in it, the interaction between them was not fun. Here, there was some serious moments, but it was still fun. I mean, it felt like camaraderie was being built, and that excited me about these people getting to that as quick as we could, for it to be whatever else it's going to be. So, because the movie could have easily been an hour and a half of them struggling against each other the entire time, and then at the last second, they get their act together to fight the big bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel like that was the case. Like I said, I really, really enjoyed it. My overall impression was I just thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. Given what we had, given what was given to us from the previous movie, Batman versus Superman, I was pretty apprehensive about what Justice League could be. Mm-hmm. We got Wonder Woman in between that, and that gave me some hope that things perhaps could be different. But I generally speaking, I did not care for the tone and the delivery. I'm talking about just the overall look and feel of the movie that we got in Batman versus Superman. I'm not going to say it's, like the worst film ever made or anything like that. It's not even the worst superhero film. I actually enjoyed that movie more than some others from the other company. And that's not to say that those movies were bad. It's just, I prefer the DC characters anyway. And I'll take some knocks to how I think the characters are portrayed. A little bit in comparison. So in other words, I forgive a lot is what I'm trying to say. And Travis knows this about me. I the things that probably are should be considered kind of crappy, I kind of forgive a little bit more than I should, and I'm okay with that. But like I said, I was a little apprehensive going into this, and I saw some of the trailers, and I was kind of hearing some buzz, on comics Twitter and whatnot. And speaking of that, I'm gonna go off on a tangent perhaps, but it was really funny to in the build up towards the release of the movie, to read all of the comments from people on both sides. People who were like me, who were apprehensive, other people who were just super excited and could not wait to watch the movie, and other people who were just damning the movie before they saw really anything, maybe besides the trailers, right? Mm-hmm. And so then I watched the movie, or actually no, it was Friday night. So I'm reading Twitter, and all these same people that I've been reading their tweets about Justice League building up to it, and then people are starting to respond to the movie on Friday. Well, I guess Thursday. It was late Thursday, and then into Friday, of course. Then I got really excited, Travis, because some people that I follow on Twitter who have been really critical of previous DC movie outings came away from watching Justice League, and they were liking it. A lot of people were saying, yeah, there are troubles with it. There's some problems with plot and characterization and things like that. But they came away from it enjoying the film for the most part. And I thought, oh, thank God.
Right? That's kind of how I was too. The people that I know are really hard on them, they were coming away going, yeah, that wasn't bad. So I'm thinking, oh, well, so if they're thinking it's not bad, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Going to this. I mean, there may be the one or two things that I go, what? But as a whole,
So I went to the movie with my wife and my granddaughters. I sat next to my wife, and at one point, I can't remember now. It's kind of a blur now, which is probably not a good way to do a show like this. as we're talking live on YouTube. But at one point in the movie, I think it was the flashback scene, when we find out kind of like the history behind the villain. And I turned to Kitra, or I turned over to Kitra and whispered her in her ear. I said, "I'm so happy right now." Because I'm seeing DC Comics, lore and some history, and it's kind of revisionist history from what we know, kind of stuff. But whatever,
it's movies.
Come to life, come to life on the big screen. And I'm still kind of riding high from that. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for what comes next. And we'll talk about that. What our thoughts are about that later in the show. So let's just get into some of the nitty gritty, Travis. Let's talk about the characters, the major characters of the movie.
Okay.
So we have our big heroes, the Justice League themselves: Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg. Like I said, spoilers. So Superman. Superman's back.
What?
Quite honestly, Travis, I expected Superman to come in much later than he did in the film. So it was kind of interesting to see that they brought him in about midway through.
You weren't expecting 20 minutes of him flying around shirtless?
Yeah.
That was popular in my house. Just saying.
There's a lot of shirtlessness in this movie.
That was popular in my house. Yeah. that and Aquaman walking off into the water, wearing his pants, still wearing his boots, but he takes his shirt off before he dives into the water. Yeah, that's all real popular in my house for some reason. Yeah,
I'll tell you what. So my wife and I and the kids, we go to all the superhero movies, and we went to Thor Ragnarok a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And so and my wife loves Chris Hemsworth. Just thinks he's just a sexy man. And she's not wrong. But so I said, okay. And as the Justice League movie kept going on and on and on through the 2 hours or so, she was laughing at all of Aquaman's lines. She was making comments about Aquaman. And so I said, after the movie, I posed this question to her. I said, okay, if you had to choose between Hemsworth Thor or Momoa Aquaman, which one? She had to think about it.
Really?
And I thought for sure she's like, oh yeah, Hemsworth. But no, she was pretty enamored with Jason Momoa and his portrayal of Aquaman.
He's cooler.
Anyway.
He's cooler than Thor. I'll put it out there. And I'm not an Aquaman fan, and he's cooler than Thor. I'm just saying.
Wow, that's something else.
That version of Aquaman is cooler than Thor.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. So since we'll talk about some of the other characters later, but since we're talking about Aquaman, so because he's one of the new characters in the DC Entertainment Universe. We've already seen Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Well, I guess we've seen him already, but it was just a cameo in the last movie. Right. But we really get to know Aquaman, and I kind of I don't know, Travis, on online I've or on other podcasts that I've been listening to, they kind of refer to Momoa's portrayal, or at least this portrayal in this movie, as a dude bro. I don't know. What do you think of that?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're gonna call him Aqua bro, yeah, I see in the comments. I guess if you're gonna call him that because of some of the language that he uses, as far as like, I dig it, that sort of thing, I guess. But I didn't think so. I mean, because it's not like, I guess it depends on what your definition of dude bro is, right? Because for me, I would picture him, he would have to be more frat boy like, for you American viewers that know what that would be. I would, you know what I mean? He'd have to be that kind of gregarious. He does not strike me as that kind of gregarious. He really doesn't. He strikes me as being a very closed off person, friendly with the people that he helps, but being relatively closed off. I mean, the only time he's not closed off, of course, is when he's the character they set up with the, haha, you touch the magic lasso,
Yeah.
You get to spill your guts. So I don't know. I don't agree with that interpretation at all. I guess.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of see why people would use that phrase to describe him, but yeah, I didn't quite buy that.
Because he doesn't come across as meatheady. He doesn't come across as being, honestly rude or that kind of extra gregarious kind of all the things that I envision when I hear "dude, bro."
Yeah.
He did not come across that way at all to me. I actually thought he came across as a pretty serious person. I mean, really. I mean, they get to the fight and they're all having their woohoo time. But beyond that, he strikes me as being very serious. And when Bruce Wayne is proposing this stuff to him and telling him that he's Batman and whatnot, and he's just kind of like, you're nuts. I mean, so you really dress up as a I love that. You're just kind of questioning that and going, nah, you go do your thing. I'm going to stay doing my thing. I don't. I like that. And I've heard other people didn't like the whole kind of Icelandic wherever they were at up the middle of nowhere. I liked all of that. To me, that was interesting stuff. So I actually really enjoyed all of the team gathering aspect of the show. And I was wondering if I was going to watch that and go, oh my God, this is the long part of the movie. That's another thing I want to say. At no point in this movie did I go, what time is it? How long is this thing? And I liked Batman versus Superman. Lots of stuff wrong with it. I could, pick on stuff like everybody else can. But there were multiple points in that movie that I went, wow, my butt is getting sore because it's gone enough strange places now that I don't know. I don't know that I'm still enjoying this. So that's one thing about this movie is at no point was there a moment where I went, when are we getting to the next thing? To me, it just moved along from one thing to another.
It's interesting to hear you say that because I actually did at one point think, what time is it? Where are we going to, move on with what's going on? And I think that was when they were kind of, I think it was during the discussion about resurrecting Superman and that whole part of the movie. It's like, well,
really?
let's get on with this. Let's, have your argument, get it done.
I like that debate though.
No. Don't get me wrong. I did. And what, since we're just talking about Aquaman, that was one of my favorite things about him is that he's, even more perhaps than Wonder Woman in this movie seemed to have some sort of, or seemed to be coming at the whole resurrection thing from a perhaps more moralistic standpoint than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, that shows some depth to this character that whole dude bro complaint.
I don't get that.
Yeah, just kind of cancels that out. But it was my pondering of the time was short lived, because about the time I started to think that they moved on. So it was interesting because I like you, I enjoyed the gathering the team aspect of this thing just as much. So yeah, that was pretty good. Anything else about Aquaman we want to say?
No, I just think he's really cool. I mean, all the shots of him, he's just. I mean,
so, yeah.
He's just like the ultimate badass. I mean, I mean, the only thing I will say is this: is that we get his part with the, them going to get the box that that the Atlanteans are guarding and whatnot, and we get that whole great scene in there. Super stoked in the fact that it seems to be that Mira kicked ass better than anybody else in the entire movie when it came to handling Steppenwolf one-on-one, short of Superman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was all cool. My only thought is, because I'm really excited for an Aquaman movie now, and I tell you, other than thinking that Momoa looks cool as Aquaman, it's Aquaman, right? I don't give a crap. I know, I'm a hater. I'm actually really excited to see the movie, especially if they write the character kind of presenting himself the way he did in this movie, because I really liked Aquaman the way he was presented in this movie. But all that stuff that's shot down there, in the water and whatnot, is that whole movie going to be like super dark? I mean, because I was fine with it because we're clearly we're underwater and whatnot, but wow, there's like no brightness at all in that. So I don't know.
Yeah, that was my next question. Was that whole? I mean, one of the few complaints that I read and heard about was some of the CGI stuff, And when people were talking about that, my mind immediately went to one, Steppenwolf, and then two, the underwater scenes, which, while they were cool in their own way, I was like you thinking, well, if we do an Aquaman movie, and by the way, I heard, I did not have time to check this, but I'd heard that perhaps that the most of the Aquaman, the planned Aquaman movie has already been filmed. Have you heard that? Heard that?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, I haven't been keeping track of any of that stuff. So.
And I just heard this on one podcast, and so I have no idea how accurate that really is. But I too, like you, I saw Mira on there. I got really excited because I really like that character. Maybe even perhaps more so than Aquaman himself. Not just in general, not specifically to the movie versions of them, because we haven't really seen Mira all that much to really know. Right. But yeah, like you said, she handled Steppenwolf better one-on-one, I think, than most of the other characters in the movie. So it's too bad she didn't join in as well. But anyway, so that's Aquaman. What about everyone's favorite character? It seems critics and moviegoers alike seem to really like the Flash. Ezra Miller's version of Flash.
Because everybody likes the goofy character.
You think that's all it is? Is just he's the goofball. He has all the good one-liners, and so everybody likes him.
Yeah, 100%. He's the comedy guy. He's the Flash from the Justice League cartoon, right? He's the comedy guy.
Yeah.
When my kid was really small and we were first watching the Justice League cartoon when it first came out, whoever the funny guy in the house was, that's who Ethan always wanted to be the Flash. And of course, nobody in the house wanted to be the Flash because the Flash is a goofy guy. So just say it. Now, I was actually kind of intrigued with that everybody liked the version of the character as much as they did, because to me, he is well beyond any. I mean, not all upfront. I'm not a huge Flash reader or whatever. He's way beyond socially awkward in comparison to any other version of the Flash that I'm kind of really familiar with.
Oh yeah.
So I thought that was strange that he's that awkward. I mean, it made for some fun stuff because he's he's, like I said, he is the funny guy in the show. He's the guy that you could kind of make the jokes around to some degree. So that was fun up to a point. But to me, he's the least intriguing and interesting character. He just is. He's socially awkward and moves fast. To me, he was the least interesting of all of them. He had the least amount of depth.
Really?
Huh. Yeah. Okay. What was depthy about him other than he's got his dad's in prison? Where's the depth?
Yeah. And they actually did try to build that up a little bit with him, confessing to Bruce when they were going to go in and battle the parademon.
I like that part. I like that part, but I liked it more for. I liked it for Batman's end of things. Batman taking the time. Because this is old man Batman, right? Which I know some people don't care for it. I love old man Batman. I've been doing this for 20 years already. I've kind of seen it and done it, kind of to the degree. I love that. I love old man Batman imparting some wisdom to somebody who's scared to death, but is in this position and he needs them. I actually really like that. I like the just save one. I mean, maybe that's corny, but I really liked it. To me, it was like, okay, that feels inspiring. Somebody who's in a panic. Okay. And getting that, but I still don't know that gave the Flash depth. I don't know.
You're right. No, you're right. And I think to a large degree, the newer characters kind of suffered that because, think about how much they had to do in 2 hours. We already knew about the three principals because they already had their own movies or shared a movie, but. Batman has had 40 million movies already.
Well, they've all had movies. Yeah.
But Aquaman, Flash, to a large degree, and for the big screen, he's new. Cyborg is new. So they had to not only introduce all these new characters, they had to get everybody together. They had to explain the reason for them being together, and then they had to go do the thing for the reason that they were brought together.
Sure.
And then somehow build some characterization individually as well as interactively with each other. So, that being said, they kind of didn't measure up, with I think our expectations in every aspect.
Oh, and don't get me wrong, I didn't dislike the character. I just think that of them, he's the most shallow, and that may just be my personal preferences. I'm more interested in even Cyborg, who's got these issues, than Flash, who has nothing. I mean, he's kind of, other than Dad being in prison, he's kind of living the life. I mean, I don't know.
Living the life. That's not how they explained it, Travis.
Okay, I watched a different movie, clearly. So I wrote my own dialogue in as it was happening. So.
See, I since we're talking about Cyborg, I kind of thought he was the least developed character out of everybody. He seemed to be really one note.
Okay, I guess his one note strikes a bigger chord and has more depth and weight than. I run really fast and I need to eat a lot.
And I chat a lot when I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can see that.
Or maybe I hate comedy. Clearly, that must be it, right? So.
Well, see, that's just it. So.
Are those all the Joss Whedon jokes that got thrown in at the very end? See, and that's the problem. And if that's the case, then that's why I dislike that character.
There it is. It is. Travis's bias against Joss Whedon.
100%. The guy is not funny. So.
You're so wrong.
No, I'm not.
Before we get too far, viewer Sean has confirmed that they wrapped up filming and principal photography on Aquaman a while ago, apparently.
Okay.
And also makes the observation that they tend to write Barry Allen like a cross between Wally West and a young Peter Parker. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But he also says that I like fans gravitate towards him. Well, there you go. One of the things that I heard and read was that everybody seemed to like the Flash scenes when he was paired up, with Batman, with Cyborg, with Superman, and so I went into the movie, and this is before I even watched the movie. So I went into the movie, and then I came out of that going, okay, I'm not sure that I got the same thing out of it that these other people that I had encountered got from the Flash pairings. But I mean, there was nothing wrong with them. It's just that I kind of expected more. But that's exactly the problem with listening to other people and their impressions of things, which I guess is a really horrible way to promote this discussion.
What they were really saying is he makes a really good sidekick.
Yeah. I don't think that's any kind of a derogatory term. He or maybe even mascot for the team. I don't know, but yeah, he did kind of pair up with everyone like that, and he's young, and I mean, Cyborg is. Well, I don't know. I kind of think of them as kind of the same age, but Cyborg, like you were talking about, Cyborg has a bit of weight on his shoulders, and I think therefore he comes across as a little bit more mature, perhaps, or at least burdened. Something he has to get over, and Barry just comes across as, I don't know, kind of flippant and carefree, except for the whole thing with his dad. But since we're talking about this, I want to ask you about this. So we have the Flash in the movie, and we have the Flash on the TV show. And also, obviously, in the comics, they all have this commonality of the New 52 version of the Flash and his tragic history, because his mom was murdered. I mean, to me, it seemed like there was a lot of screen time put on the whole dad in prison thing. And I know it was to kind of build up the Flash's character, but I don't know. I felt it kind of... To me, it fell a bit flat to me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. What do you think?
Well, right. To me, it felt like it sets up his movie.
The movie, yeah.
That bit sets up what his movie is going to be about. Clearly, his issue is his dad's in prison for a crime he doesn't think his dad committed. So that's clearly going to be the movie, right?
Mm.
We're not, I mean, I'm sure in the Flash movie, they'll go into some level of depth about that, but it'll be about fixing that or something like that. Is what his movie will be, right?
Well, isn't his movie Flashpoint? Aren't they calling it that, or maybe that's like a working title?
I don't know. Of all of those movies, once again, it's the one I'm least interested in. So,
well, but I want to throw this out as a fan. Well, what's the word I want to say? Fan theory. They could easily turn all the problems around with the DC universe by doing Flashpoint in the movie version of Flashpoint from the comics, and everything changes, and everything that came before is that's all done before and not part of the current movie continuity. Travis, it could work.
Yes, it could. And everybody else, everybody who just watches movies and doesn't read the comics will be going, "What the beef was that?" Because that would be so crazy from anybody who isn't wrapped up in the continuity of what.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I want to come back to this idea though about the changing tone that we're kind of alluding to here. But so is there anything else about the Flash we should talk about?
I thought it was fun. There were some really great, like I said, the Batman moment was really great. I absolutely love, the scene with him and Superman where Superman's raging still. And, he's basically thumping the crap out of all the heavies, Superman is. And so the Flash is just going to zip around behind him and screw with him, right? And as
the look
he's
that
around, Superman is tracking him, starts following him with his eyes. And the look on his face as he's right, because of course, one thing about the show is there's too many people that when they use their powers, it falls into slow motion. It might be a criticism of the movie. But I love that whole scene as he's running around behind him and he's realizing Superman is actually fast enough to follow him, to track him, run around behind him. And just a kind of slow, oh crap, look on his face as he realizes that he's potentially going to get beat up here. I don't know. That was really fun.
Not even like, oh crap. I kind of read it as, oh amazing. My God, this is awesome.
Right.
Somebody else is almost as fast as me.
Yeah.
And that, of course, that leads into the mid-credit scene, but let's come back to that later.
Sure. But like I said, so there were lots of fun things about the Flash, but whatever. At the same time, the character deserves to be the least, as I've said many times. I'll quit beating that horse.
Okay.
So, yeah. Who's next?
Right. Okay, Cyborg. Let's talk about Cyborg.
Okay. I like the way Cyborg looked.
Okay.
And I thought it was interesting towards the very end. Of course, they show him changing a little bit more. His cybernetics changed. The look of it, a little smoother, a little less, raw, robot man kind of a thing. I don't know. I guess I found him intriguing in the sense that he's still clearly very new as far as having been changed into Cyborg. Because he makes the comment that every night, he basically attempts to go to bed and he ends up being able to do something he could not do before. So I found that all really fascinating. That's a kind of an interesting dynamic that he's still, the computer of him is still evolving. The fact that he's fighting with alien, basically the equivalent of alien technology the entire time, because isn't he kind of based off of Kryptonian crap, right? Is this version of Cyborg? Is that we're getting that he's kind of got because don't they use didn't they imply that they were using some of the stuff from the Krypton ship was Dad saying that he used some of the stuff or that they wanted to use more of the stuff to figure out more things? Oh yeah,
good point. I don't remember now.
See, because the impression
I got the same impression.
Because the impression I get is that he is, because he says he has this whole little alien language right in his head, and he says that it's not just binary, that there's some other alien language running in him the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I find all of that really interesting. Now, granted, that's a far removal from me and yours Cyborg from the 80s, right? From the Teen Titans. They have changed Cyborg considerably since then, it feels like. And of course, the movie even, I think, amplifies that even more. So that's all kind of interesting. It makes him kind of an interesting, like at one point, Aquaman makes the observation, we're not even sure if he's, on our side, or is he part of the problem? Because he seems to have a connection with the mother box stuff and all of that. I don't know. I found all that interesting. I thought the idea of him having all these things was intriguing. I liked his interaction with Wonder Woman, for instance, maybe more for her lines to him than his lines to her. Kind of a thing. I'm looking forward to seeing more with him because you're right. He is another character I didn't get as much out of him, but I liked him too because it's interesting how almost everybody on the team is like a big brain, right? Because clearly the Flash is not a stupid guy, despite his social awkwardness and whatnot. He's got this computer brain running and whatnot. Because last times everybody else will be arguing, and when they're done arguing, he'll go, "Well, you guys were arguing. I was working out the odds of."
Oh, right.
Of, are we going to survive this or not? So I don't know. I like the character. I thought the character was interesting and stuff. So, but they didn't give us a lot. I mean, I will say that. But I'm interested in watching that. I'm interested in watching the Cyborg movie, and that was another movie I was kind of like, I'll watch it if I watch it, but it's not like invested in watching it. Whereas I'm a little more intrigued on what they might. For him, he's somebody that I don't know what the story is going to be going forward, other than him trying to find himself. That's the only thing I can see as being a story for him going forward. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the Flash felt like I knew what the story going forward for him is.
Exactly. And that's where, for me, I had the opposite reaction where I am less interested in Cyborg than Flash in comparison, because I have an idea of what they might do with Flash. Cyborg is just a blank slate for me.
Well, I think he kind of is too, though. I mean, they kind of made the character that way, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I just want to go back to the point that you made about the Kryptonian aspect of Cyborg, because I'm trying to remember, I was flashing as you were talking. I was flashing back to Batman versus Superman, and I mean, I thought there was a mother box in him. Wasn't there a scene in there where there's this thing that's spinning around and goes into him, and
that was the impression I got too. But then clearly,
right.
So they're calling these other three things the mother boxes. So I don't know.
So what the hell was that?
Clearly there's some continuity that needs to be cleared up for us. Those of us snotty people who want it all, all meshed together and whatnot. Was the impression I had gotten originally too, is that if it wasn't an actual mother box, that he was of that technology in some sense. Whereas in this, it seemed to me like, I mean, did they use that as a power source to power him up in the first place? I don't know. There's some questions there, I guess. That's why I need to watch the movie again.
Yeah,
because some of that banter that goes on between like him and his dad, and some of their conversations, kind of blow past me as I'm just visually watching and just kind of taking it all in, just to enjoy it without trying to, pick at these things we're now having a conversation about. So
right. Yeah, and I had thought during the course of the movie, when they were talking about the three mother boxes, the MacGuffins of the film, everyone's searching for these things. And we know one is was with the Amazons, because we had that big fantastic fight scene with all the Amazons, and then with Atlantis, there's that one, and then the one that was overseen or hidden by man. Which, by the way, I'll throw this. I was going to talk about this with the scene for that flashback scene, but the whole idea that the Atlanteans, the Amazonians, and man, the world of man, really struck me as really Lord of the Rings-ish.
Yes, it was heavily that way.
Oh my God!
For me. This is what I thought was the most classic about it. Okay, so the Amazons clearly build this shrine. They have people that watch it all the time, right? The Atlanteans build a shrine. They have these people that watch it all the time. Man goes and digs a hole somewhere and throws it in the ground and buries it.
A 3-foot deep hole. They didn't even do it right.
It wasn't even a good grave. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. I mean, I get the idea that man had to hide it because we're too weak. Somebody amongst men would go, "Ooh, power," and take it. So they buried it. But I don't know. At the same time, I just thought it was kind of I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
These noble races, you can control their urges and wouldn't want it for power. They're just going to protect it. We're a bunch of numbskulls that have to bury it in a 3-foot hole.
Could you imagine being the Atlantean or the Amazonian who gets that duty and holding like the Amazonians, they have their arrows notched and ready to fling at a moment's notice. Can you imagine sitting there or standing there for 8 hours a day doing this?
We're not dedicated. We're not dedicated soldiers, though. See, and they are. So
I got guard duty again. It sucks. But besides that, I just want to make the point. I thought for a large part of the movie, because they're looking for the third one, the Mother Box of Man.
It was going to be in him.
Because of what I saw in the previous movie, and I thought, well, how is Steppenwolf not sussing this out sooner?
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out it wasn't in him, but regardless. So I just want to point out, Sean also says that it sounds like we all need to add to the second weekend box office to clear up these cyborg questions. Well, definitely. I'm going to do my darndest to do that this coming weekend. So, yeah. Okay, who else who have I missed besides the big three? So that's it, right?
That's it.
I'm not forgetting anybody. You know why I keep in preparing for this talk with you, Travis, I kept thinking, I'm missing somebody. I keep forgetting somebody that we need to talk about, and it is the elephant in the room, the missing member of the Justice League, and that's Green Lantern, which we do not get in this movie for some strange reason.
No, John Stewart.
Yeah, right. I mean, they should have. Yeah, exactly. Let's leave that at that. But at least we do get a Green Lantern in that flashback scene. I'll come back to that.
That was cool.
That's Travis. That was the first point where I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Of the movie, just the first of many such fangasms on my part. Okay, so let's talk about since you mentioned before, and thanks for stealing my thought too, because I had exactly the same thought. I love Old Man Batman. I love the fact that as Jim Gordon says, and by the way, hats off to J.K. Simmons' portrayal of Commissioner Gordon. I think just his look just really sold that character for me. That more so than the guy from the Dark Knight movies. I can't remember the actor's name now, who played Gordon. I think J.K. Simmons in the very few scenes he was in just sold Commissioner Gordon to me better than anybody else I've seen. Mm-hmm. Not to take away from the other guy, because he played a really good Gordon. But I don't know, just the way Simmons looked just was like, that's Commissioner Gordon on the screen.
The bristly mustache, the perfect glasses, the wet trench coat. Yeah, definitely. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he made that comment about how Batman protected Gotham for 20 years, and Bruce Wayne even says something about that too. They kind of hammered that point home that he's been around a while,
right?
And they really played up the fact that that in that scene between Batman and Wonder Woman, he can't he can't do this for very much longer, and which I really liked. I dug that whole idea of Batman being this old wise guy who obviously has made some mistakes from the last movie to this one, but he's trying to make amends. He's trying to make some change because there's something something very important at stake, and that's the world. He's trying to save, he at his core, regardless of his age and experience, Batman is still Batman because he's trying to save everyone. Mm-hmm. And to do that, he gets together his merry band of metahumans. Right.
I like I said earlier, I dig this version of Batman. And I think Ben Affleck plays the character well as far as the actor goes. And I'm playing this they give him great lines to be that kind of, old guy. Matter of fact, there wasn't any conversations with him that I didn't like. I mean, there was some where he was that they made a little jokier than what I expected. Like the whole, he gets tangled up with Superman and he says well, I don't like you or whatever it was. He does the double negative to say that, that he doesn't hate him anymore before he gets thrown to the ground, kind of thing. I mean, I thought it was funny, but I don't know. I don't know about the character actually delivering that line in reality, but I don't know. But I liked it. I like I said, I like this version of the character. I like his concern, where he has concern at, the screw up, the stuff with Superman, the acknowledgement of what Superman means. And I think that deep down he actually decided he likes Clark, and he likes what Superman represents beyond the I need it because we need that to defeat the bad guy.
Right.
You get the impression from him. They do a good enough job with the dialogue and the acting to get the impression that this is something he would like to fix, even beyond that. Kind of a thing.
I think in large part, strategically they needed Superman, but
right.
he really Bruce really hammered home with everyone, or not everyone perhaps, but definitely with Wonder Woman. We need I guess maybe it was Alfred. I can't remember which character he was talking to now, but he made the point of the world needs Superman because of what Superman represents, and he had to do what he could to bring that symbol back, which is, I think, in some ways, a condemnation of what we got in Batman versus Superman. Or you could look at it as this is a character arc that Batman is going through, that we see. He went pretty damn dark in Batman versus Superman to the point where he almost murdered someone, which is just totally antithetical to that character, at least my interpretation of that character.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and now he's bending over backwards in a lot of different ways to correct that mistake. Not only in direct relation to Superman and to Lois Lane and Martha Kent, what that means to them, but like I said, to the world, and also to stop being the loner. To try and he's actually, whether he knows it or not. He's trying to build up his humanity. That was one of the things I really liked. That one line that he said about how Clark is more human than he is.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that is the core of that relationship now in these movies, and I'm so glad to see that in comparison to what we got in Batman versus Superman.
Mm-hmm.
That made me, as a longtime Batman Superman lover of those two characters together, that partnership, that made me so happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So I see Sean has a few more comments about things that we've been talking about. Who'd have thought that J.K. Simmons not only could give us the perfect J. Jonah Jameson, but also a Jim Gordon straight out of the comics too? Totally agree. That J.K. Simmons is just awesome. Yeah. He should. I think he should get like a footnote of he's crossed over into two different superhero universes, playing really cool characters.
Right.
And also, he also says that he never thought in a zillion years that Ben Affleck, Batfleck, would be his personal favorite Batman on the big screen. I kind of agree. Not kind of. I've been really impressed with Batfleck.
Yeah. See, for me, I don't know how much of it is necessarily like just Ben Affleck's acting, or how much of it is just the way they've written the character now, or they put the character at versus the prior Batmans. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name right now. The last guy who was Batman for three movies. He might have been able to. If he had not done that, he might have been able to do this role too. That part of it, I'm not 100% sure how much of it is Ben Affleck's acting versus just where they've created the character at now.
I kind of think it has more to do with Affleck.
It is appealing to me. You think so?
Yeah.
I think it also has to do with him being a fan, doesn't it?
Oh, probably.
That he's got a personal investment in the material in some sense, just because. Besides the fact he doesn't want to make a bad movie, clearly, but just because he is a fan as a kid and stuff too. So
which is really funny that us talking about this, because the majority of the people I guess I read and listen to, not big fans of Affleck as Batman. So
they're wrong.
Oh, well. and this might be a good way to transition into Wonder Woman, but I think the highlights of this movie were the scenes between Batman and Wonder Woman. Out of everything in there, and and this is coming from a guy who, those in the video can see, I'm wearing a Superman shirt, although I do have the Justice League, animated Justice League in the background here. I love Superman more than Batman. No problems with that whatsoever. Willing to admit that to anybody. But in this movie, I was really hoping to get, some really good Superman scenes, and we didn't. It was about the other characters, which is a good thing. But like I said, that relationship between Bruce and Diana, I think, is what was, to a large degree, the heart of that movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think so too. Because it is about them, right? It is about them knowing this is coming. But they're the ones that have the sense that this is coming. They're the ones that survived Superman's death, basically. Rolling into this movie, and it's them knowing this is coming and having to gather these other, other wild people that are out there and try and convince them that there's this greater thing that we need to handle. And I love the conversation. And I say that even if I try to get out of my head my own personal, I'm a Batman Wonder Woman shipper. So any other type of
you
dynamic.
Too?
Oh yeah, any other type of dynamic.
Yes.
Any other type of dynamic that's there, just their, the way they, work around each other. I mean, clearly they do a good job in the movie of them saying not pleasant things to each other, and then backing those things, backing away from those things, and having a conversation, understanding as to why they said the things they said to each other. I loved all of that. Wonder Woman's my favorite character in the movie, by far. I'm still probably high from the Wonder Woman movie, loving it so much. I love her opening scene where she's in in Paris. She's hanging there on blind justice and then drops off of that, and the whole her going through and wrecking the terrorists and whatnot. That where she's sliding along, bouncing bullets the whole way and stuff. I mean, that's really early in the movie, and I was already. It doesn't matter what happens the rest of this movie. I am satisfied just seeing her, kick the stuffings out of people and whatnot. I mean, I was absolutely, tickled by that. I love her version of the character. I love her conversation with Cyborg. She's trying to. It's her job to recruit Cyborg, right? She's a the equivalent of a Luddite, really, in some sense. And the fact is that she's, Wonder Woman, she swings a sword, she has a shield, here's this walking computer, and she's recruited to go and talk him into coming in. And just her conversation about the fact that, the conversation about the fact that, when she delivers the line about you're looking for a way out, she kind of says, she opens up to say, look, I lost a loved one, I isolated myself off for darn near 100 years, whatever. Referring to Trevor, I'm assuming, and she isolates herself off and she's trying to come out of that. And then she makes the comment, clearly you are too, or otherwise you wouldn't have shown up for this face-to-face meeting. I don't know. They gave her a lot of good lines, and I think she delivers them really well. I mean, I just really enjoy that character. And then I like all the banter, all the different banter between her and, like you said, and Bruce was good stuff.
Yeah, I think Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman, essentially the savior of the DC movie franchise.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And another scene I wanted to just mention briefly. I'm getting into our next topic, which are our favorite scenes, but whatever. That scene between Bruce and Diana, you mentioned, when talking about Steve Trevor. But there, I don't know if that's the same scene or maybe it's a little bit later, but it's later. Yeah. Because Bruce was pushing Diana, bringing up Steve and all that stuff, and she reacts angrily.
Yeah, he's being an asshole, really. I mean, he really is being a dick.
Yes. But then we find out later that he's doing it to kind of push her into a leadership role. And I love that. I love that idea. You know, if we can't have Superman as the symbol of hope, as the public face of the Justice League, who's the most logical person after that? And maybe even the better choice all around, it's Wonder Woman. And the comics always just kind of skirt that. And I felt over the years, you know, Wonder Woman should be a lot more prominent in the comics and Justice League, the group itself in the comics, more than she's ever been portrayed. And we get that in the movie. I find that kind of ironic, and I'm impressed that they did that. And I hope they continue that, because, like I said, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman is just freaking awesome. When we saw Batman versus Superman, one of the first things I said coming out of that is, what this movie needs more of is Wonder Woman. And we got more Wonder Woman in this movie, and we could have had a lot more, and I would have been pleased as punch for that. So yeah, I gotta love Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Well, I love the character anyway, but quite honestly, this movie version of Wonder Woman makes me like the character even more. Yeah, it just, you know, and that excites me, that there's a portrayal out there that really is fairly flawless, I think, you know, as far as the ideal of that. So I just, yeah.
What really, I want, Travis, is somehow to bottle what Gadot and Patty Jenkins and others who have given us this version of Wonder Woman on screen, somehow bottle that up and give it to us in the comics. And I'm sure people out there will say, well, yeah, but what about Greg Rucka, and what about this, and what about that? And you know, if you think that, great. I don't. I don't think we've gotten that version of Wonder Woman in the comics, at least recently. And you know,
no, I mean, I know you don't like the recent run that Greg Rucka did. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but it does not capture what what the movies are capturing with her.
Yeah.
No.
And
it was kind of a rebuilding of the character. That's what needs to happen now, though. I mean, I was fine with the Rucka run and it being a rebuilding. Now that's what it needs to be, and the book is not that.
It is,
I mean, not to really talk comics here, but I've dropped it because it's not that, to the point where I can't take it anymore. So
right, and to be fair, I have not read all issues of Wonder Woman. I've over the years, it's just what I have read is not what I'm seeing on screen, and what I really respond very positively to what I'm seeing on screen, and I wish I could read that. So, okay, Superman. Let's talk about Big Blue.
Okay, let's get the controversial thing right out of the way first.
Okay,
right. So they CGI'd his mustache away because the actor had a mustache. That's not that. No, the real problem, they should have CGI'd in a beard, and then it would have been perfect.
A beard.
Yeah, don't take away his mustache. Give him a beard.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, bearded Superman is awesome.
I think Travis, you're biased when it comes to facial hair.
That may be true.
So this is for the audio only listeners. My buddy Travis has this wonderful bit of facial hair on him, and he's actually kind of famous among his followers, his fans, for the beard.
I have a little bit of a beard, yeah.
Anyway.
But anyway. But you know what? That whole TI thing, I guess I noticed it in the fact that maybe he was smiling more, but I didn't really. I mean, I don't know. The opening sequence with Superman, because it's like that film clip kind of a thing, which I loved actually, because it immediately establishes in my head. I'm not a huge Superman fan, but I feel like Superman needs to represent something in particular. immediately establishes him as that. You know, he's basically kind of being interviewed by some little kids, and they're asking him all the ridiculous questions that little kids ask. You know, things like, "Have you ever fought a hippopotamus?" You know, just really great questions or whatever. I thought were hilarious. And you know, but they're asking him, you get the impression that he's human. He loves Earth. He loves people. You know, and you know, he has that moment where he's listening, and then he smiles. You know, even bigger. I liked all that, but in that moment, that's the moment where I kind of went, okay, there might be something weird about that upper lip in that kind of a moment.
Oh, no. There was no wondering, Travis. That was the most obvious.
Right. But I didn't
CGI.
But I didn't notice. I guess I didn't notice it that much once we got into the movie. You know, once we got into the colored stuff, you know, it wasn't the kind of weird quasi black and white of them having that interview with him at the very beginning of the movie. I don't know. I guess it didn't matter to me that much at that point.
Yeah. Well, and did you notice?
Maybe I couldn't get past just how awesome his physique looked, so I didn't pay much attention to his lip. I don't know.
Well, yeah. So in that scene, I mean, we see his suit. Did you notice how much brighter it was compared to the previous movies?
Yes, it wasn't dark blue anymore. It was.
Oh my gosh,
the nice blue that it should be. Yes.
Exactly. That's what it should be. But it was also funny. My reaction was like, well, that's too bright, and that's not what I want. That's not the reaction I want to have. It's just like, it was just, coming from those previous movies. It's like this tremendous palette shift in color. Mm-hmm. Even Batman looked a little less dark in this movie, and maybe that's just my mind tricks on me. No. But yeah, I really like that, and Travis knows. He knows how much I love Superman, and just the whole thing. Well, again, that scene at the beginning, the S stands for hope, and he said something about how, I don't know, the way it was shaped and how that has something to do with it. I can't remember.
It's like a river.
Exactly.
It's like a river, and it flows and it comes and goes, and this.
Yeah, exactly. That I eat that crap up. I love that concept, the idea that Superman. They even got that right in the Man of Steel movie where, Jor-El tells him, we will stumble, we will fall, but we'll rise up because he's the beacon of hope. Mm-hmm. And I totally dig that about Superman in general, and I'm so pleased that they played that up in this movie. Although, it doesn't quite jibe with the text that we have in the previous movies, because they didn't get a chance to build that up. If I really believe that if we had gotten another Superman movie in between Man of Steel and say Batman versus Superman, we would have gotten that. And maybe that was their plan, and they constantly are changing things because it's not working. But I was really glad that, while things didn't quite make sense, like I said, based on the previous things, they were building that up. Superman is the symbol of hope. Superman is, the world needs Superman. Batman, is the one to say that. I think is, given what happened, it just, I really responded well to that. And I was really pleased to see that in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean says, I don't know how much we would have paid attention to Superman's CGI upper lip if they didn't keep covering stories about it before the movie came out. Right. Yeah. I mean, I probably would have seen that scene and went, something looks a little weird with his face there, but I would have just kind of glossed over it. But, exactly. Because of all those stories and, the money they spent doing it.
Right.
I was looking for it. I went in the movie going, okay, where is it? Where is it? And honestly, I only really noticed it in that first scene. Maybe there were others in there, but I don't know. I'll try to pay more attention in the next viewing. But it does. I mean, that's such a little point. We're again, just like the news stories about it. We're kind of making a big deal about it.
Like I said, I just wanted to bring it up just because I don't feel more having kittens over it, and I wanted the beard. So
the other. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The other thing I just wanted to pick your brain about, Travis, is they do the resurrection. They do maybe that was the obligatory fight scene between him and everybody else. Now you kind of need that emotional purging between him and Batman. Mm-hmm. and like you said, that scene between or with the Flash, where Clark is tracking him when Flash is running fast, that was
Right.
cool.
Right.
But I don't know. That was one of the scenes where I'm like, okay, let's get this over with, because this is not really doing anything for me
Sure.
until we get to the bit with Batman. And then we get him showing up later. Oh wait, I'm getting into my favorite scenes, but
at my house there was a bit of an uproar over that whole fight scene.
Why is that?
Because in my household, to a person, we all think that Wonder Woman could take Superman. So
if she wanted to
Superman
take him
has
down,
more. Superman has more like, powers because he's got the heat,
physicality, yeah.
Right. But in a straight up fight, no. Wonder Woman could take Superman.
Well, he wins perhaps just by sheer power, not because he's a better fighter or anything. Yes.
So
if that's what you mean.
So when we left the theater, there was a little bit of a rumble in my household over that scene, because like, wait a second, Wonder Woman should have been able to take him, but yeah.
I want to say.
So I mean, so you say that went on long, but then of course Batman brings out the big gun, which I had no clue. Did you have a clue? I didn't even.
No, I figured.
Oh, okay. I wasn't thinking far enough ahead for it to clue in what the big gun was and whatnot. So do you think that's part of what settles, kind of like buries the hatchet for them? I mean, they kind of buried the hatchet in a way with the whole horrific Martha thing in the last movie. But him making that happen, that moment happen, do you think, I mean, besides that calming Clark down, do you think that Clark sees that as something more than that and decides, okay, this guy isn't that bad? That Batman isn't as...
I like to think so, and I also think that perhaps, and that's the problem is I don't know.
Reading more into it.
I think we're reading into it because I don't think we saw it clearly enough in the movie. But my take on it is that, once he calms down and comes to his senses, Clark realizes what Bruce is doing is for the greater good, and what is Superman about other than the greater good? The
greater good, yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. That you just use the term "bury the hatchet." I think that's probably true, and more on Clark's terms than perhaps Bruce's. I know Bruce is trying to make amends, but clearly, Clark is willing to let bygones be bygones. Yeah, you tried to kill me. Okay.
Thankfully for Batman, right? Because he wouldn't stand a chance.
But yeah, that Batman brings in Lois to calm him down, and then they take off, and that scene in Kansas, I imagine some people might think that went on a little too long, perhaps, and it wasn't really moving the plot along and all that stuff. But my God, Travis, that was the first time in the movie, I will admit, that I got emotionally tangled up. They're talking in the field, and he's just making inane chitter chatter about his resurrection, right? He's kind of making light of it. And then she just blurts out, how she wasn't strong enough.
Right.
And, that just tore me up. And then of course, Mom shows up, and I just about lost it there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, surprisingly, again, I feel like that was good writing in the fact that, that she has that moment that she exposes herself, to him, that Lois exposes herself as not being, she doesn't feel like she lived up to the person that she feels like he would have expected her to be, especially after earlier in the show, we had seen Mom showing up, telling him the fact that he was, he was expecting another Pulitzer out of her and all this stuff, and she's writing fluff pieces, kind of thing and whatnot. But because Lois being in this movie, it could have been a throwaway. The entire, she'd just be there purely for, the motivational need. They have to have a reason to calm Superman down, and that's the reason to do it. And they could have left her as that, and her not really have any value beyond that. I thought it was really cool that despite the movie and all the stuff that's going on, they still gave her some story beats to actually be a human being.
Yeah.
Between that and her also making the comment that she was, as much as she was loving this, that she also knows that now she needs to give him up. She's got to let him go and do this other stuff. All great stuff that really they didn't have to have. There was no real reason to have that other than I kind of feel like good writing. To have her be something other than just an object to move the story from one place to the other.
Exactly, but also, let's give credit to Amy Adams for being able, in just a few short scenes that she was in, she brings such weight, such emotional weight to that character. Mm-hmm. She's amazing, and she's fast becoming one of my favorite actresses right now.
Yeah.
Sean points out, I'm glad they showed how Clark needs Lois to anchor him as his tether to humanity should he ever lose himself. Perfectly stated. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a good encapsulation of that scene. And then so that finally the final thing I want to point out or say about Superman in the movie was, when he finally shows up at the big fight scene at the end. I don't know. I just kind of expected a little bit more fanfare, a little bit more presence. He just comes in and just clocks.
He's so arrogant. He's so arrogant while he's there, though. What cracks me up is like he's in the middle of all this crazy crap going on, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna go save these citizens, and so he flies off, and they're all getting their asses beat by Steppenwolf. So he flies off, so they're back to getting their asses beat by Steppenwolf. He goes and flies off of the building. There were some parts in there that I kind of laughed about, but
that whole him carrying the building after Flash is self-satisfied with saving that family in the truck, which he should be, but in the distance, here's this little Superman flying underneath this huge building. That was just maybe a little too much on the comedic side, perhaps, but maybe worth it, because it can't be all tense fight scenes, but
sure.
But I don't know. He just, he comes in and they did talk about this. They made some comments about the fact that now that I don't know. I got the sense that now that Superman is dead, that's why Steppenwolf came back to get the mother boxes, because with the Kryptonian there, he wouldn't have the chance to do so or something. I know. That was a little fuzzy to me. Why?
Well, they certainly implied
Superman's absence affected that.
Well, they certainly implied that when Superman left, the entire world became a darker place without this symbol. And when it dropped, my impression was because they made that comment that the world's just a darker place without Superman. And I was in the impression that when it stepped into this darker place, that gave the opportunity. That was the time to seize the moment to gather this stuff and our new apocalypse.
That's an interesting idea. I hadn't really considered that. I thought I had more to do directly with Superman. So, and the reason I say that is because when he does show up and starts fighting Steppenwolf, he seems to handle Steppenwolf pretty handily. Mm-hmm. He just with a few punches, he's knocking him down and all this stuff. Not that Wonder Woman wasn't. It was just different and. I don't know. I don't know. It was just kind of, maybe I expected a little bit more struggle with Superman, but then again, he's Superman. He's supposed to be able to take on these big bads like this.
Right.
And I guess speaking of big bad, let's talk about Steppenwolf, unless you have something else about Superman you want to say.
No, I mean, I was okay with that, with the level of that, him rolling Steppenwolf because Steppenwolf isn't the big bad. I mean, he was the big bad of the show, right. Yeah. But he's not the big bad because there was some name dropping in this movie, and if they ever put that in a movie, that's going to be a whole different can of worms. I would guess.
So were you surprised as I was that we did not get any shot of Darkseid? I mean, he was mentioned by name.
No,
but I'm not surprised. No Darkseid whatsoever.
No, I'm actually happy.
Really?
I don't want to see Darkseid until it's a freaking Darkseid movie.
Okay.
I don't want an after credits teaser with his hand or an eye or the Omega symbol. I don't want nothing. And then I want to just be boom. It's how I want it. I don't want the spoiler. I don't want the hint.
Boom. No pun intended there, Travis. Boom.
No pun intended at all.
Okay. All right. So what did you think about Mr. CGI bad guy?
I liked him. I know
Really?
people are squawking about the CGI. I don't know. I thought it looked cool. Personally,
I didn't like it at
no,
all.
I thought it looked cool.
I thought.
I
I mean,
think he
if
looks.
you're gonna,
I think that CGI version of him looks better than what is currently set in the comic books. That is Steppenwolf.
I don't know. I don't have a reference.
Where he's extra laden with extra belts and spikes and crap because he's been drawn by Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and all those guys.
From the 90s, yeah.
But that wasn't the 90s. That's now. That's
I know,
now.
I know. But their sensibilities are stuck in the 90s.
So this guy who's, I don't know, metallic or whatever the heck color he's supposed to be, and a little sleeker and stuff. I rather that. I like the parademons too. I thought they were cool.
Well, I don't have a problem with his general look. What I have a problem with is his palette. He was just like this big grayish thing.
Yeah, to me, he struck me as being like a walking metal sculpture. Is what he looked like.
Okay.
And I guess I don't have I don't know. I guess I don't have a beef with that.
Okay. Well, I was
because here's my thing when they do finally throw out Darkseid, what's his palette going to be? A bunch of grays and a little bit of blue. I mean, that's what I don't know.
Oh, are you suggesting that perhaps this is a visual bridge between the villains in a future movie?
No, I'm not saying so. But I can picture them using some of the same stuff. Except by the time we get a Darkseid movie, who knows? They could have completely new special effects to do something different or whatever. But I can't imagine that if we get a Darkseid movie that he isn't going to be CGI because he has to be bigger than everybody else. I mean, legitimately bigger than everybody else. You ain't going to put an actor in there and go, I don't know, maybe they can. I have no idea. So, but I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't even realize it was a problem until I came out of the theater because I didn't read everything everybody was talking about and then saw people, grumbling about him and whatnot.
Like I said, mostly my complaint is just how the color, but just the CGI-ness of him. But given that, I mean, besides,
I thought he was a way better villain. Way better looking, way more interesting than the ultimate bad guy from Wonder Woman. As much as I love that movie.
Oh, okay.
Ares sucked.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you brought that. I was gonna ask you about that. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Despite my smallish issues with Steppenwolf's look, I didn't really have a problem with him being, the bad guy who, I mean, and they even give him a backstory, a reason why he's doing what he's doing besides just this alien conqueror. I mean, it stems from that, but he has more motivation than just that. He was slighted by the ancients in that flashback scene, right?
So this is my planet. I'm owed. Yes, yeah. I don't know.
And then he makes that reference to becoming a new god. We get that Kirby reference.
Yes.
So we fans, we readers of the comics, we get those things and we get all excited about it. But I thought it worked out pretty good. So Sean says about this, he agrees with you, Travis, that he likes the look. It's alien, and I agree. It looked different enough that it looked alien, but it just looked, just like a video game to me. And I want better CGI, I guess. And I don't know if that's possible, but that's just how it was. But he also says that Sean says that Superman will struggle against Darkseid, and he should.
Yes,
he should. It shouldn't be as easy as how I'm portraying or interpreting that fight scene between Superman, Steppenwolf, and all the others. So yeah, I want my Superman to be, chucking planets at Darkseid, essentially.
Yes.
in that future movie, if we get it. So okay, have we missed anybody? Well, we got all the major ones, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Was there any smaller role that you wanted to point out? Like I said about J.K. Simmons.
That we haven't already talked about?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. Oh well, there's some other stuff at the end, but we'll get to that. we've already talked a lot about about some of our favorite scenes, but in case there's anything else that we wanted to talk about, I keep talking about this flashback scene, for example, where we find out why what happened to the mother boxes, why Steppenwolf is so hot to trot for Earth, and we just get that great scene with the Greek gods battling Steppenwolf and his minions and the Amazons and that sounded weird. The Amazons, the Atlanteans, the Kingdom of Men, or whatever, the whole Lord of the Rings thing that I said. Uh-huh. Besides that little hokiness of that part, that whole scene was just really cool, and especially liked Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
And a brain fart there. Zeus, with his lightning zapping Steppenwolf, and we see the Green Lantern. What I did not notice, Travis, and I was hoping maybe you did, was that Green Lantern recognizable to us? It didn't seem to be to me, like some Green Lantern in the comics.
No, I didn't think he looked like anybody that I could recognize offhand.
Yeah,
other than he was green, right? I mean, he was green. Wasn't he not legitimately green beyond just wielding? I mean, was he like a Martian wielding a ring?
Oh my God, do we have a Martian Manhunter connection here?
I don't know. See, that's why I kind of learned too. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just saw it all as green. But to me, he struck me as being.
I don't remember the character being green.
He struck me as being green, and then having swinging a green hammer and whatnot, and then he gets killed. And the ring. I love the fact he gets killed, and the ring kind of goes and tumbles off and goes rolling off. And they
to find the next bearer.
Right, they just kind of watch it. They watch the ring roll off and then fly off to wherever. Okay, I defeated that guy and roll on to the next, the next thing is and whatnot. That was cool. And see, even though Green Lantern wasn't in the movie, which I'm perfectly fine with, not a Green Lantern fan, but I hate everybody. So, but that was cool. That was cool to see a Green Lantern there. The fact that way back in ancient times, there was still already the Green Lantern Corps. Because really, my conception is Green Lantern Corps doesn't really exist until Abin Sur, or whatever his name is, crash lands on Earth and gives the ring over to Hal Jordan. I didn't think they were ancient in that way, or at least that there was a Green Lantern of this sector before we as man got up to a certain level of whatever, that we needed our own policeman or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, Sean says that would have been a Sector 2814 Lantern, and we shouldn't have known him otherwise. Yeah. And it was awesome. He says, that was.
Yeah. So that was.
It was just a really quick. I don't. It's.
It's like looking at one of those big pages from Crisis on Perez's Crisis on Infinite Earth, and just spotting the weird little character that you're the only person that likes or whatever back there in the back, going, oh my God, there's Kamandi in the corner or whatever. That's kind of what this was. I mean, it was kind of that moment of, it didn't need to be there, but the fact that there was just that weird little thing there was like, wow, kind of a deal. So yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And maybe that's a hint that maybe there might actually be a real Green Lantern movie at some point. I don't know.
Another quick scene that I just want to. Well, you mentioned it earlier, but the whole thing where Aquaman is just suddenly spilling his guts, and it's because he's sitting on Wonder Woman's lasso. That's straight out of the New 52 Justice League, the initial New 52 Justice League story.
Except it was Hal Jordan.
Except it was Jordan, right? But I really like that scene too. And then at the end, at the very end, where Bruce and Alfred go into the dilapidated Wayne Manor, and this is going to be the new Hall of Justice, perhaps.
Right.
I just thought that was really cool.
It's got to be so long by so long. It has 5 chairs, and Diana's walking along behind him, going with room for more.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Just all great setup type stuff. I actually even like the stupid scene at the very end where they split the mother boxes apart, and there's the big nasty explosion, and it flattens Cyborg and Superman. And they're both laying there going, and then they suddenly are going, because they're hurt, clearly, but they're kind of laughing about it because, they basically defused the bomb and didn't die defusing the bomb, and Cyborg commenting on the fact that his toes hurt, and how's that work? I don't know. And they're kind of chuckling about it. I thought it was kind of funny. I like the fact that, Wonder Woman's kind of rolling her eyes going, oh, I got him. I am
with
truly
children.
With children. That's funny. And the brief concern with at first explosion over, and Batman going, Clark, that sudden, have we just done it again? That moment of, did that blowing up kill them again? Kind of a thing. So I don't know. I like that too. I thought it was funny. The kind of the tension of, we beat it all, it seems. And I like that.
Yeah, and you go through this really tense situation, and what is your first reaction as a human being? Usually, you laugh about it,
right?
To break through that tension, and that's exactly what they did. Another thing, it's not a particular scene, but I noticed this throughout the movie. The characters were concerned about each other.
Mm-hmm.
There were pointed moments when, for example, Wonder Woman. I can't remember the character, which character it was now, but she was concerned about, I think maybe it was Cyborg, but concerned about the character, and instead of engaging with the enemy and taking care of that, she backs away and to help her teammate. And there were many moments like that throughout the movie. And despite the fact that these are all new teammates, they have not trained together. They've not gone through any kind of the usual Batman training program. They're just kind of thrown in together, all at once, and here we go. We're off on our adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And but they still are concerned about each other, and of course, about the civilians. Which finally we get superheroes saving people instead of destroying buildings right and left.
Right.
So I was very.
And there was multiple times they literally kind of stop and go, "Wait, we gotta." there's civilians. That's is a genuine concern, vocalized concern. Which you're right, we hadn't gotten up to this point.
Yeah. So I was very pleased about that. I love that. Like I said, they're a new team, but yet they because of the people they are. They care, and they want to help each other, and I just love that. That's what the Justice League is about. That's what it is to me anyway. They should care about each other. They should help each other out. It's not just about taking out the bad guy in the most convenient way. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
They really are,
or at least they're starting to be a family. Yeah,
right. Well, but that's the Justice League is they're a family that deals with all this cosmic, earth-shattering level, events of whatever sort. I'm all ready for the next movie.
Yeah. You're jumping ahead, man.
I'm ready for the next movie. Clearly there are things you could pick on it with this movie, but I love the characters, and I thought it was fun. So for a superhero movie, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to look at the characters, recognize the characters, in some sort of, I get some surprises along the way. Awesome. And have fun with those characters. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So okay. Since we're talking about this, let's talk about the post-credit scene, which suggests the next movie,
right? At
least in some part, right? So and I know you didn't see it.
Yeah, because in
the theater.
I wasn't going to a Marvel movie, so I assumed after the mid-credit, that there weren't any at the very end of the damn movie. So I left and did not get to see them.
Yeah,
I probably went to the internet and read what was all there. But
so you haven't seen the scene at all?
No,
I thought perhaps it might have been posted by now.
No, not to the best of my knowledge. Not if it is, it's not. I would assume it's not legally, and I don't do that.
Right,
so.
right.
So yeah.
I'm
gonna pay another $15 so I can go and see the last 15 seconds of the credits, right?
So what do you think of that scene?
I'm gonna go to another movie, and right towards the end, I'm gonna run over to that theater and watch that.
He won't torrent, folks, but he'll
I'll double
drop into another movie.
That's right.
So what do you think about that setup with Lex Luthor and Deathstroke?
Well, so here's my thing. I'm not a real big fan of that version of Lex Luthor because it's coming from
many people are not.
It's coming from that was some of the aspects of the last movie I didn't care for. So that part of it, not. But if they're implying Legion of Doom,
yeah,
that's cool. That's cool.
So
because
this is...
because that would be awesome to get on screen. A couple dozen superpowered people basically throwing down would be.
So Travis, this is my next fan theory. The second movie is the Legion of Doom versus the Justice League, and whatever that entails, and then it ends with Darkseid coming, and they all have to team up.
Villains too?
Yeah,
that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
It would. I mean, that's a total comic book crossover type thing.
100%.
And we've already gotten that to some degree with Crisis and the Anti-Monitor, but right. Whatever, it can work.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that'd be cool. I'm totally game for that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so the problem here, Travis, is that as of today, the Monday after the movie weekend premiere, it's only made about $280 million in the box office from a reported $300 million budget.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they'll make their money.
But that's not considered a success in modern film. So,
well, and it's not, it has not performed as well as other superhero movies in its opening weekend. So it's possible that Warner Brothers will get cold feet and change their plans yet again. Obviously, we hope that they don't, because we're excited about the possibility of another movie and probably, hopefully two more, essentially two more movies, a trilogy of Justice League movies.
Yeah. Just had a theory or just taking a wild guess or whatever. What makes this movie worse than, say, the Avengers movie?
The first one?
The first one.
Worse? For me, it doesn't succeed as well because of the characterizations that weren't as strong, and the tone of these movies have changed so much between
no, I'm not talking all the other movies. I'm talking these movies. Okay,
I know, but that plays into it with me. It's just like I'm looking at the characters as they progress through these movies, and things don't quite jibe. And so the strength of the Avengers movies is that they built these characters and they seem to be consistent. From a storytelling standpoint, to me, that's a strong point of the Avengers versus Justice League movie.
So you're saying because the Iron Man movies and the Captain America movie, was there a Thor movie out before that? Yes, there was, before Avengers, right?
Yeah.
That made that a stronger movie because those characters were they had better characterization all the way through. Because there was no characterization, there was no movies for Black Widow. There is no movies for the Hulk, so their characters are just flying with whatever they've been given in the other movies and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, because for me, I don't see a difference between the two.
So what do you mean?
Between the Avengers and between the Justice League movie, I don't see a difference other than solely people's biases on Marvel versus DC and that whole shenanigans.
I think I agree with your point.
I feel like, and I'm one of those kind of crazy, not really conspiracy people, but at the same time conspiracy people, in that there is a heavy amount of traffic on the internet that blew this movie up before it was even in a position where anybody could even see what it was.
I totally agree.
So it is sunk before it's even started. So and if you see 1,000 posts saying, "Oh, this movie's horrible," even though those people haven't seen it, it affects whether or not you're going to go opening weekend to see it, right?
Okay, so you think that the negative press, for lack of a better word, from average movie Joe goer has
That's
affected the
that's
dollar?
I don't know if that's really the case. That's how I feel though.
Okay.
Because I don't see the difference between the two movies.
Well,
I
no,
to me,
from a
looking at those two movies, they're equal. And people will talk like the Avengers is like some lauded um Citizen Kane versus
oh,
whatever the Justice League is.
okay, no,
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Citizen Kane.
Yeah. Well, no, maybe that was a little extreme, but
Uh, so
but
yes,
yeah.
your point. I agree with you. From a very basic storytelling standpoint, from a plot standpoint, they're essentially the same movie.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
I actually thought oh, never mind. I thought the coming together of a team was better in this movie than the Avengers.
Well, see now,
The Avengers, to me, it seems very more superficial. But then those characters seem, other than Captain America, they seem like superficial people in the first place. Iron Man is an incredibly superficial character. I mean, he has depth, but his personality, Tony Stark, he is this kind of a superficial douchebag. So I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Iron Man. I like that actor playing him, but at the same time, he is not somebody I'd want to spend more than 5 minutes with, ever.
I just again I think the Avengers had a bit more cohesiveness in vision and tone than this movie. But other than that, I totally agree with you. Structurally, not structurally, just from the standpoint of what this movie is about.
Thematically.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same. So let's see here.
So for me, you're right. We may not get the next movie, or if we get it, it can be completely changed in tone yet again, based on. I guess I just think it's unfortunate how many people aren't going to go and see it because they're, to some degree, they're doing like you're doing. They're going, well, Batman versus Superman was so dark and grim and whatever. I mean, other than you're a fan of the characters, so you're going to go see them regardless, right? I'm assuming anyway, you're going to go see all of them regardless.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas people who aren't long-lived fans of the characters saw Batman versus Superman and went, I don't want to see another movie like that, and so they just don't go to it. And there is largely night and day difference between those two movies.
Okay, so
Christ, because Christ, one movie's got Batman running around branding people, for God's sake, and he did not strike me as that type of person at all in this movie. Like, right. I couldn't even imagine this version, which is the same guy, right, whipping out a brand and branding somebody for. I mean, that guy he's fighting there at the very beginning, right? Who's robbing this house or whatever. No, I mean, other than the stereotypical, I'm going to hang you out the side of the building and scare you. I couldn't imagine he was going to pull him up and then brand him at some point, right? So I don't know. That's unfortunate, I guess.
Yeah.
If that's the case, these movies are going to get sunk based on. Well, if you're going to put the whole universe together, 2 movies ago, right? Because you've had Wonder Woman in between that.
Mm-hmm. So this may not be this is not representative, but my wife goes to all these movies with me, but she's not like us, Travis. She's not a fan of. She's not even like your wife, who actually reads comics. Yeah. My wife doesn't read comics. She sometimes doesn't know if a character is a Marvel character or a DC character. So she's not not your typical non-comic fan viewer of these movies.
Right.
But she came away from it wanting more. And she really, she doesn't know the intricacies of Aquaman. And right. she fell in love with that character, in this 2-hour run of Momoa's portrayal. And she loves Wonder Woman, just like all of us do. But she was looking forward to another movie just so she could experience more of these characters. It doesn't, and to her, it doesn't matter what the plot is and who the big bad is. She just likes to see them, these characters interacting and, occasionally spouting off a funny line because she likes humor more than dark thematic stuff. So I don't know. I really want to think that she's more representative of people who are outside of comics.
Yeah.
And so maybe us kind of internalizing this all that or analyzing all of this doom and gloom scenario regarding potential sequels. Maybe we're too much into our own heads, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And it's not as bad as we think it is. Only time will tell.
Well, but I mean, unless it didn't get the big weekend box office draw that they would have hoped for. Clearly, we know that already now, right? If it has lasting power, I mean, that would be the only other thing that's going to save it, right? Or it goes to China, and in that market, it cleans house, because then they won't care. Because quite honestly, we're getting to the point now where, the U.S. market is not where the money's at.
I thought it already debuted in China.
Did it?
Did it not? I don't know. I should look this up before we start recording.
I guess I don't either. Well, we were going to talk the movie and not probably get into this part of it, but
no, I actually had no plans to talk about this part.
Yeah, but I hope that if you're listening to this or watching this, that you have not seen it yet, and we haven't totally wrecked it for you, you should go see it.
You should. It was a fun DC movie, and obviously, like we said at the beginning, Travis and I are big DC characters fans. We love that universe. All we wanted out of this was, with the buildup of all the movies, was for it to be successful because we love these characters in this universe so much. Mm-hmm. And with a couple stumbles, perhaps, and then riding the ship a little bit or maybe a lot with Wonder Woman, I can see a through line from Wonder Woman to this movie. I think they're on the right track, and like you said. And I will reiterate, I cannot wait for the next one. I want to see where this goes. I want to celebrate these characters and being on the big screen. I am as excited as I was when I went to see Avengers for the first time and seeing all those characters, like I say, on the big screen, portrayed by real actors and not cartoons, and how successful that was. And I feel that same way about Justice League. Mm-hmm. So any other thoughts, Travis, on the movie? There's something else I want to say about it that I wanted to point out and get your reaction to, but
I don't think so. It's just that, like I said, I had a fun time watching it. So
one of the things, just real quick, that I thought of as I was pondering this movie last night after watching it, how much of a mishmash of things this movie really is. So we talked about Old Man Batman. So, basically that's the Dark Knight version of Batman, right? Mm-hmm. We get the whole Superman death and rebirth from that 90s storyline. Flash is essentially the New 52 origin of the character, and with some tweaks, so is Cyborg. Wonder Woman I kind of think is its own thing to a large degree. I mean, there's some elements of the New 52 run, because there was that line in the movie from Steppenwolf about how she has the blood of the gods in her. And, right. That came out in the movie. And maybe a little bit of Greg Rucka's run thrown in there too. But so what occurred to me, Travis, was this Justice League movie was a big Elseworlds comic come to life. And I really love that idea. It's not just its own thing. It's not just this cinematic version of these characters. It's kind of taking the like I said, the Elseworlds concept and throwing it up on the big screen and saying, hey, this is the Elseworlds version of the Justice League origin. Have fun.
Right. I dig that. They kind of just they cherry picked whatever they want to out of the comic realm, and they're just kind of going with their own, with their own thing. I mean, clearly we've had this discussion. We kind of want characters to stay within, certain realms of how we traditionally see the character, Superman being a particular way, and all of that. But yeah, I think that's smart. I mean, I guess there's people who will complain that thinking that, everybody who's going to the movie is going to rush out and buy the comic books. And if they go into the store to buy comic books, the comic books aren't going to be maybe 100% reflective of the movie. But I don't think that's the reality anyway. So I think that's kind of a marginally silly conversation to even be argument to be having, that, oh no, what I'm seeing here, I'm not going to see in the, in the comic books. But no, I think that's cool. I mean, like I said, take what you think's going to work and use that. Those of us who are big fans can find that, find those characters in the works out there, like you just kind of listed off where everybody's from, which I think is cool, too. But at the same time, it's kind of opened the door to be its own thing. I mean, I can guess, we can guess at what's coming and how it's going to be. But we don't really know exactly how they're going to, play that out or how they're going to deliver that. Like I said, for me, the Flash in this was surprising because I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting closer to like what is the Flash right now, the Rebirth Flash is. A little more intellectual, a little more grounded, a little more kind of, cemented in his life. Whereas this kid, clearly isn't, and he is awkward and he is all this stuff. And so to me, that was one of the surprises of this show, was just how much he was kind of that way. I would read Aquaman. If Aquaman came across to me, if the book came across the way what little bit the character was in this movie, I would go back to reading Aquaman. Yeah. And I read the first 14, 15 issues of the current Aquaman. It wasn't like I haven't tried it when it comes out. But I don't know. I liked this Aquaman quite a bit. I don't know. He had an air of cool about him.
Yeah.
Without being totally arrogant. And I don't know. I would dig that comic because he felt grounded. He felt, to me, relatable more so than what, blonde-haired, orange shirt wearing Aquaman from the comic books does not relatable to me in any way, shape, or form. Whereas this guy seemed relatable. Maybe it's the beard, I don't know, but
no, I think you're right. Yeah.
So yeah, cool stuff.
Yeah. I only made better, Travis, because I get to talk about it with you. My only regret is we couldn't go to the movie together.
See, that's just it. We got to figure out, for some of these movies, we got to figure out how to hit the same theater at the same time. So
yeah. All right. Well, we'll plan for that in the future. Okay. Anything else? Any parting thoughts?
No. Go see it.
Yeah, go see it. It's fun.
Save the DC universe. If not for yourself, for me. It's all about me.
And on that selfish note,
yes.
I think we're done here, Travis. So thank you very much for joining me on this. I was kind of threw it at you last minute this morning, in fact, and I was really hoping that you could join me, and I'm very pleased that you were able to do so.
I didn't have to take notes, so this was really easy.
just come together and just start jabbing. Those are the conversations I love. Yep. So I want to thank you again, and thank Sean, who has been our consistent viewer on YouTube here for the entire time. So thank you very much. I appreciate your comments and your spending the time with us. And let's see here. So if anybody, so for the people that are watching this in the future or listening to it on the podcast feed, if you have comments about this, you can email me at longboxreview@gmail.com or leave comments at longboxreview.com or at YouTube, at my YouTube channel. And Travis, they can find you at youtube.com/oddfellowsthoughts, right?
Yes. Yep. And you can leave all the comments about how I'm so wrong about the Avengers and whatnot. I'll love it.
Yeah. It's, you know what? It's for, despite what people might assume there, Travis is not anti Marvel.
Nope.
We love it all. It's just we like DC a little better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For those listening to the podcast feed, and thank you, Travis, yet again. And that's it. We're out of here. Go watch Justice League.